Ace Frehley held the marker. He looked at the fan's painted face. And he handed it back. Backstage. Joe Louis Arena. Detroit. November 1996. The concrete walls still held the echo of 15,000 people who had screamed themselves hoarse 2 hours ago. Equipment cases lined the hallway. Coiled cables. The smell of sweat and electricity fading. Ace Frehley sat on an equipment crate, still wearing his silver-studded jacket, his curly hair damp from the stage lights. A dozen fans waited in a ragged line, the lucky ones, the ones who'd won the meet-and-greet lottery, who'd paid extra, who'd been patient enough to wait while the crew broke down the stage. He'd been signing for 20 minutes. Posters. Guitars. Vinyl records. A kid's leather jacket. He signed them all with the same steady hand, the same few words exchanged. "Thanks for coming. Great show, man. You take care." Then the kid stepped forward. Early 20s. Kiss t-shirt from the 78 tour. Nervous smile. And his face painted in perfect detail, the Space Ace design. Silver and black. The star over the left eye. The angular patterns Ace himself had worn from 1973 to 1982. 9 years of his life reduced to a geometric pattern on a stranger's face. The kid held out a black Sharpie. "Would you sign my face? Right across the makeup? It would mean everything, man." Ace took the marker. He looked at the painted face. 3 seconds passed. Then he handed the marker back. "I can't do that," Ace said quietly. The kid's smile faltered. "What? I can't sign that. I'm sorry." Backstage after a concert, a fan asked Ace Frehley to sign the Space Ace makeup on his face. Ace held the marker, looked for 3 seconds and said, "I can't do that." After that day, no one ever looked at fandom the same way. The hallway went quiet. The other fans in line exchanged glances. A security guard shifted his weight. The tour manager, standing 20 feet away with a clipboard, looked up. The kid stood frozen, marker still extended, confusion spreading across his painted features. Is it because? It's not about you," Ace said, cutting him off gently. "You did a good job with the makeup. Real careful. But I can't sign it." "Why not?" Ace didn't answer right away. He looked at the painted face. At this kid who'd spent probably 2 hours applying silver and black paint in perfect symmetry, recreating a design Ace had worn decades ago, back when everything was different, back when he was someone else. "That face isn't yours," Ace finally said. "And it isn't mine anymore either." The kid lowered the marker. Behind him, the line had stopped moving entirely. Everyone was listening now. Ace stood up from the equipment crate. He wasn't tall, 5'10" at most, but he had presence. The kind that came from 30 years of standing on stages, of being looked at, of learning when to speak and when to let silence do the work. "You want me to sign something?" Ace asked. "I'll sign your shirt. Your poster. Whatever you brought. But not the paint. I don't understand." "I know," Ace said. "That's okay." He signed the kid's Kiss t-shirt instead. Right across the logo. Then he moved to the next fan in line. The meet and greet continued. But something had shifted in that hallway. Something quiet and permanent. Ace didn't defend himself. He never did. To understand what happened in that Detroit hallway, you need to understand what the Space Ace makeup meant to Ace Frehley. And more importantly, what it stopped meaning. 1973. Ace was 22 years old when Kiss formed. 4 guys from New York with a gimmick nobody had tried before. Comic book characters brought to life through makeup and costumes. Gene Simmons was the demon. Paul Stanley was the star child. Peter Criss was the Catman. And Ace Frehley became the spaceman. Silver and black. Geometric patterns suggesting circuits and stars. The look of someone not quite human, someone from somewhere else. It fit Ace perfectly, the quiet one, the weird one, the guy who played guitar like he was channeling signals from another planet. For 9 years, Ace painted that face for every show. Hundreds of concerts. Thousands of photographs. The Space Ace design became synonymous with his name. Kids dressed up as him for Halloween. Action figures were manufactured with that exact paint scheme. The design became bigger than the man wearing it. And Ace started to disappear underneath it. By 1982, Ace was done with Kiss. The reasons were complicated: creative differences, substance issues, exhaustion, the feeling of being trapped inside a character someone else owned. He left the band. He washed off the makeup for the last time. He swore he'd never wear it again. For 14 years he kept that promise. He released solo albums. He toured as himself, just Ace, no costume, no paint, no character. Some fans loved it. Others felt betrayed. "Where's the Space Ace?" they'd yell from the crowd. "Bring back the makeup!" Ace never responded. He just played guitar. Let the music answer. But the makeup followed him. Fans would show up to his solo shows wearing it. They'd paint their faces silver and black and stand in the front row, trying to remind him of who he used to be. Trying to pull him back into the character. Most of the time, Ace ignored it. He'd see the painted faces in the crowd, register them without reaction, and keep playing. He never commented. Never acknowledged. Just played his guitar and moved on. But the autograph requests were different. Subscribe and leave a comment. Because some moments only make sense when we remember them together. After that night in Detroit, word spread. Not through press releases or interviews. Ace didn't talk about it publicly. But fans talked to other fans. Security guards told their friends. Tour managers mentioned it to other tour managers. Ace won't sign the makeup. It became a known thing. An unwritten rule. If you showed up to a meet and greet with your face painted as Space Ace, Ace would be polite. He'd shake your hand. He'd talk to you. But he wouldn't sign the paint. Some fans were confused. Some were offended. A few understood immediately. One of them was Danny Stratton, a session guitarist who'd toured with Ace in the late 90s. He was there that night in Detroit, standing backstage during the meet and greet, watching the exchange with the painted kid. "I didn't get it at first," Danny said years later in an interview. "I thought Ace was just being difficult. But then we were on the bus after the show, and I asked him about it. And he said something that changed how I thought about music forever." Danny had asked, "Why wouldn't you sign that kid's face? He spent hours on that makeup. He clearly worships you." Ace had been quiet for a long time. Then he'd said, "That kid doesn't worship me. He worships a character. And if I sign that character, I'm telling him the character is real. That the makeup matters more than the music. That who I was matters more than who I am." Danny had pressed, "But isn't the Space Ace part of your legacy? Part of what made Kiss legendary?" "Yeah," Ace had admitted. "It is. But it's not me. And when a kid paints his face like mine used to be and asks me to sign it, he's not asking Ace Frehley for an autograph. He's asking a ghost. And I don't sign for ghosts." That conversation stayed with Danny for the rest of his career. Years later, when young musicians asked him about image versus authenticity, about branding versus artistry, he'd tell them the story of Ace and the marker. "Ace taught me something that night," Danny would say. "Real respect isn't asking someone to be who they used to be. Real respect is honoring who they became." Away from the spotlight, Ace made a choice no one expected. The Space Ace makeup incident became a quiet legend. Not the kind of story that makes headlines. Not the kind that gets retold on VH1 behind the music. But the kind that guitar players tell each other late at night on tour buses. The kind that session musicians mention in interviews 20 years later. The kind that matters to people who understand the difference between persona and person. In 1996, the same year as the Detroit incident, Kiss announced a reunion tour. The original lineup, Gene, Paul, Peter, and Ace, back together for the first time in 14 years. And yes, they'd wear the makeup again. Ace said no. Publicly, the reasons given were contractual, financial, creative control issues. But people close to him knew the real reason: he didn't want to be the space ace again. He'd spent 14 years becoming himself. He wasn't ready to disappear back into the character. Eventually, he agreed. The money was good. His bandmates wanted it. The fans demanded it. So Ace Frehley painted his face silver and black one more time and stepped back onto the stage as the spaceman. But there was a condition. A rule Ace insisted on, written into his contract where most people would never notice it. At meet and greets, at autograph sessions, at any fan interaction, Ace Frehley would not sign painted faces. Not his character. Not anyone else's character. If a fan showed up with Space Ace makeup, Ace would talk to them, pose for photos, sign their merchandise. But not the paint. The other band members thought it was odd. The management thought it was difficult. The fans who didn't get signed were disappointed. Ace didn't care. He'd learned something in those 14 years away from Kiss. He'd learned that the makeup was a mask, not a face. And masks don't deserve signatures. What followed silenced everyone in the room. 2001, Cleveland. Another meet and greet. Another line of fans. Halfway through, a woman stepped forward. Late 30s. Quiet. She wasn't wearing makeup. She handed Ace a photograph. It showed a teenage boy, maybe 17, smiling at the camera. His face was painted in perfect Space Ace design. Silver and black. The star over the eye. "This is my son," the woman said, her voice steady despite the tears starting to form. "His name was Michael. He died 3 years ago. Leukemia. He loved you. He loved Kiss. He painted his face like yours for every Halloween, every concert." Ace looked at the photograph. He didn't speak. "I know you don't sign the makeup," the woman continued. "I heard about that rule. But Michael, he would have understood. He loved you for the music, not the character. He learned guitar because of you. He practiced Shock Me for 6 months until he could play it perfectly." She held out a marker. "Would you sign this photo?" "Not the makeup. Just somewhere. For Michael." Ace took the marker. He looked at the image of this kid, this dead kid, who'd painted his face not because he wanted to be Ace Frehley, but because he wanted to honor him. He signed the photograph. Not across the painted face. He signed it in the white border at the bottom. Just his name. Ace Frehley. Then he did something he almost never did. He hugged the woman. Right there in the meet and greet line, with fans waiting and cameras probably recording, Ace Frehley put his arms around this stranger and let her cry into his silver-studded jacket. "He knew," Ace said quietly. "Your son knew it wasn't about the paint. It was about the music." The woman nodded, clutching the signed photograph. After she left, the next fan in line stepped forward. His face was painted. Space Ace design. Perfect geometric patterns. He looked at Ace. Ace looked at him. The kid slowly reached up and started wiping the makeup off with his sleeve. "You don't have to do that," Ace said. "I know," the kid replied. "But I want you to sign me. Not the character." Ace signed his shirt. Right over his heart. Share and subscribe. Some stories deserve to be remembered. The rule stayed. For the rest of his career, Ace Frehley never signed painted faces. Some fans understood. Some never did. Ace never explained further. Today, unsigned painted faces are more valuable than signed ones. Because the fans who kept their makeup unsigned understood something the others didn't. Ace Frehley taught them that respect isn't imitation. It's seeing the person behind the mask. And some lessons you don't need words to teach.